have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it.
Sure, things are bad. Probably going to get worse. But let's talk about how to prepare ourselves for the coming year and the future beyond in today's video, because I do think that there's still hope. No matter how bad it is, I think that we can weather this if we prepare properly. And so we're going to discuss that today. Before we get started, I do want to mention to you a sponsor and a partner here on the Prepared Homestead, which is My Patriot Supply. I talk about them every now and then, but I want to mention that in the next couple of days, over the next few days at least, they're running some pretty incredible specials on their website. I'll leave a link in the description below. They have a few products that they are clearing out of their warehouse, and they are offering them at some pretty substantial discount. If you want to go and check that out, I've put a few screenshots of a few items, but there are several there that if you are in the market to buy and have the funds to do so, they are pretty good prices. And it's a company that I believe has really great quality. We have used several of their items ourselves. We use our water filter system here at the Homestead. We purchased through them, and we have purchased other items on their website. So if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and check them out. And if it's something that you are interested in, the next couple of days before this sale ends, it ends at midnight on New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, excuse me, New Year's Eve at midnight. You can get some pretty good items for a good price. All right, on to the show. So there's obviously been a lot of things happening over the past year, and we've all agreed that it's leading up to some big changes in our world. And I firmly believe that over the next 2 to 3 years, we are probably going to see some of the biggest, most radical changes, not just of our lifetime, but quite possibly of our civilization. Some leaps forward technologically, some standards that we have just grown to know that that's just the way they are will probably no longer be our standards. There's certainly a lot of things that we can talk about that are happening currently and that's happened over the past year, you know, the health crisis and this election and things like that. But I think that each one of those are really more just symptoms to a bigger problem. And I think probably the two biggest problems that we are looking at that will have the biggest impact is the American economy and how it's losing its status as the dominant global economy. Included in that is the U.S. dollar, and then also this Great Reset. And even though maybe not every aspect of the Great Reset will happen, at least what they hope it will happen, the folks at the World Economic Forum, I do believe one aspect will be front and center because it's already happened. And that's this, what they refer to as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or this rapid advancements in technology, and this, thrusting us into this advanced technology because it already exists. Yes, some of it they're still developing, but the fact is that there's already enough here to drastically change how life works in our day-to-day lives. And so let's talk about first the economy and ways that we can kind of prepare ourselves, and then we'll talk about the technology, and then just some ideas that I have on just how we can better get ready for all of this. So with the economy, and we've talked about this at length before, and there's other channels that are much more knowledgeable than myself at this, and one I would recommend that you, if you don't watch on a regular basis, I would encourage you to watch, and it's a channel, J Bravo. He goes by Johnny Bravo, and he's very entertaining. He's very humorous, but he also puts out some incredible information and insight on the economy. Our economy is it's basically in a downward spiral. As much as certain folks on the news would like to tell us that, oh, it's doing pretty good, it's bouncing back, we're doing certain things, the Fed and the banks and the Treasury, they're doing this and that, that's fortifying it and bracing it from all this collapse, and that it's going to be okay. The fact is that we have overextended this debt-based economy. And without going into details into that, our economy is a Keynesian system. It once was Austrian economics, and now it's Keynesian. And we've put the final nail in the coffin, really, in 1971 when we went off of the gold system. And then in 2008, basically, we embraced this idea that we can just, bail out everyone and print as much money as possible, and it doesn't matter. At some point, this honeymoon period of Keynesian economics is going to come crashing down. You can look at the Roman Empire and their economy and how it started collapsing once they went off of a gold-based system. This is going to happen. It's inevitable. It's one of those almost like a law of nature that it cannot continue on. We cannot continue this economy with the way that we do it, of continually just dumping more currency into the system, creating more and more debt, because the rate at which we are creating debt is so rapid now that many economists already say they cannot understand how it hasn't collapsed yet. And the only thing that's keeping it from collapsing, as we've all said many times, is just the faith in the system. And that faith is starting to wane. We're starting to see little cracks in that. Now, we don't know when it will collapse. Many have predicted over the next 3 to 6 months, and some say it may be years away. But the fact is it is happening. China has been basically in a cold war against us when it comes to the economy. They have been pushing their digital currency. Basically, every nation that is doing business with China is, in a manner of speaking, forced to accept their digital currency. And they are in a battle for dominance. We have enjoyed the privilege of our currency being the global reserve currency. And I don't think many of us here in America quite understand what that means, because our currency is what's accepted here in America. And we don't quite realize the importance of the fact that our currency is also accepted virtually every place else on this planet. And it is the only currency that is accepted every place else on this planet. And when that changes, when our currency is no longer the global reserve currency, it's going to have massive impact on our economy. So we have to prepare for that. I'm not a financial expert, and I'm not going to give financial advice, but I will tell you that you need to prepare for this. Just like you prepare by buying food and water and tools and learning new skills, you have to prepare with your money. If you have investments, retirements, you need to look into new ways of investing your money and find financial experts that have good knowledge in this of creating a financial plan for when the U.S. economy collapses, for when the dollar loses its value, whether it hyperinflates or completely deflates. This is something that you need to be doing. Maybe that's investing into digital currency, something like Bitcoin. Maybe it's putting more money also into solid assets like gold and silver, maybe real estate. Whatever it is, this is something that you really need to do, especially for those of you that are living on your investments. There may be some of you that have retired or that you have, you know, sold your business and you're kind of semi-retired and you're basically living off of your your assets, your investments. What are you going to do when the dollar loses its value, when the stock market crashes, when your investments no longer have any value? So you have to start now while there's still time to move your investments around, move your money around so that you can be prepared for this happening. Because again, I'm not a financial expert, but I believe it is an inevitable thing that will happen, this sort of collapse. The other thing that we need to talk about is this push towards the fourth industrial revolution, this technology. I mean, this advancement in technology is happening. I understand that this health crisis is a catalyst for this push for this new technological advancements, but it doesn't really matter at this point because it is in fact happening. And you have a choice of either completely getting on board or choosing to go back and basically have no technology in your life. But the fact is this train is moving. And regardless of what your decision is, you need to make plans to deal with it. We are living in a vastly and rapidly increasing technological age. Some of you may say, well, I'm too old to learn new technology. I'm too old to get into it. We're just going to live out our life on our little piece of property, and that's fine. But maybe some of you younger folk need to re-examine your plans for the future, your plans for jobs, your plans for education, because some of those plans may not work out in a world that has much more advanced technology. You know, we've talked to our own kids and explained to them, especially the older ones, that maybe you should look into areas of more that would be an advanced technology. Maybe you should look into, you know, more like computer programming, AI development, engineering, things that would be needed in a more advanced technological world, because I believe that is in fact where we are headed. And these are things that we must prepare for. You know, going back to the thing of, well, some of you may just say, you know what, I'm just not going to have any technology in my life. I'm just going to, you know, live out a primitive life on my property. And that's fine. But what we have to do is plan for that. I don't personally think that we're looking at some type of complete collapse of civilization to where it's like a, say, a Mad Max movie where we've reverted back to the Stone Age or the Bronze Age. I think that they want something like that to happen on appearance, and then that's when all this new technology starts to come in to pick us up. When it looks like the economy is collapsing, when it looks like, you know, certain governments are starting to collapse, this Great Reset comes in and it kind of picks them up and says, well, we have a solution so that it keeps you from you know, your culture and your society completely collapsing. We have solutions to that, and that's where the Great Reset and, you know, global governance comes into play. We have to be prepared for that. Having things like food supplies prepped up, medical supplies, water, certain, you know, self-sufficient systems, you know, developed on your property, you know, gardening, livestock, things like that, are certainly necessary because that's a safety net. But you also need to have a plan for how to live in a world that is rapidly advancing. A lot of people aren't really planning for that. And I don't have the answers per se, but I will tell you that some of this stuff may not be so much optional for us. For instance, digital currency. A lot of you may say, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with that. It may get to the point that that is the only kind of currency. And so you're left with either, you know, having a barter system or dealing with the black market. And they claim that these, you know, new digital currencies will eliminate the black market. I don't believe that, but they certainly are going to try that. So What that means is that for you, you have to come up with a plan, and maybe that plan does involve embracing some of these new technologies. And how do you secure your money, and how do you secure your life? And along with these technologies, it's not just going to be about digital currency. It's also going to be about, more surveillance in our lives. These are things that we have to start planning for, because, like it or not, they appear to be on their way. And I think that's what we're going to be seeing over the next 2 to 3 years. The things that's happened in 2020 has kind of set the stage for this. And this isn't just my opinion. I mean, you can listen to all these World Economic Forum experts. I mean, that's what they're saying, that they have to take advantage of this global health crisis, take advantage of all the chaos and uncertainty and instability that's going on around the world, and usher in this new era. It is coming. There's not a whole lot that most of us can do to stop it. I mean, sure, we need to resist as much as possible, but we also have to plan that resistance. We have to decide what battles are worth standing up against and which ones we need to just fall back and regroup, because this is going to be pushed upon us whether we like it or not. So in your prep planning, in the past, we've talked so much about food and ammunition and water and all the things that you commonly think of when you think of prepping. But we're living in a world now that is not enough for us to be prepared. We also have to think about these other things, technologies and the global health crisis, and how that is going to continually change the world for us. And this, what appears to be a rapid movement towards some type of global governance and a great reset. These things are going to impact our lives, whether we like it or not. You may not agree with it. I assume most of you probably don't. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to happen. So we have to start taking the steps now to plan for that, and how we're going to live our lives and function through them. Some of you may just think, well, I'm just going to be a renegade, an outlaw, but that's probably just not going to be a very sustainable plan. Here on our homestead, like I've said before, we are working feverishly to make this place as self-sustaining as possible. So number one, it reduces our need for the outside world as much as possible. It doesn't mean we're there yet, but we are working towards that every day. Along with that, we are trying to learn as much as we can about these new technologies. Doesn't mean that we will embrace them. It's just that we need to learn about them, see what's coming up on the horizon, the things that they are working towards to push towards us. And one of them is digital currencies. And while we haven't come up with a complete plan yet, we are talking about that and how that will affect us, and what we can do to work around it as much as possible, and then how we will work with it when we're forced to. These are the types of plans I think that most of us need to start working on, because, as I've said, it's coming at us whether you like it or not. So you need to start getting ready for 2021. It's possible their plans may not work out. It's possible that the level of resistance will be much higher than they expected. It's possible that certain natural things might happen that throw a wrench in their plans, and then more chaos than what is expected could happen. It's possible that instead of pushing forward to a more modern future, we actually do revert back to the past because their plan didn't work as they hoped. In a lot of ways, I think those are the easiest things to prep for. Preparing for this global world government with rapidly advancing high technologies, I think personally that's a little bit more difficult to plan for. But it's something we have to do. It's something we have to be aware of, whether we like it or not. it is something that we need to start developing plans for our families, for our financial, investments, and for how we need to live our lives, kind of maybe on that fence of just enough into that technology world so that we can exist, but holding back as much as possible so that it doesn't control our lives. It may not work, but I'm hoping that that's a way that a lot of us can kind of move forward without becoming complete slaves to this new fourth industrial revolution and great reset. Let me know what you think. I'm not saying that my ideas are the best, but I do know that it's something that we need to prepare for because, again, I believe over the next 2 to 3 years, we are going to see some very radical changes in the world that we live in. All right, folks, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.